The world can feel like it's spinning in perfect harmony, a beautiful symphony where every note is exactly where it should be. That was my life with Sarah, or so I thought. We were the couple everyone looked up to, the high school sweethearts who actually made it. 15 years of marriage, two amazing kids, a house in the suburbs. We had built a fortress of love and memories. I was a man who believed in forevers, in promises whispered under starry skies, in the unwavering strength of a bond forged over time. I never imagined that the foundation of our fortress was slowly being eroded, one silent secret at a time. It started subtly, as these things often do. A new password on her phone, which she brushed off as a security update. Late nights at the office became more frequent, explained away by a demanding new project. There were hushed phone calls she'd take in another room, her voice a low murmur I couldn't quite decipher. I noticed, of course I did. Each little change was a tiny crack in the masterpiece of our marriage. But I dismissed them. Trust, I told myself, is the bedrock of any relationship. I was a trusting husband, perhaps to a fault. I didn't want to see what was right in front of me. I wanted to believe in the woman I had loved for half my life, the mother of my children, the keeper of my heart. My friends tried to warn me. Mark, my best friend since college, would drop hints. "You sure Sarah's just working late?" he'd ask, a concerned furrow in his brow. I'd laugh it off. Defending her. Defending us. "She's dedicated," I'd say, a little too forcefully. "That's why she's so successful." I was building a wall of denial, brick by painful brick, because the alternative was too devastating to even contemplate. I was living in a carefully constructed reality, a fragile bubble of my own making, and I was terrified of anything that might pop it. I chose to believe her lies because the truth felt like a monster lurking in the dark, and I wasn't ready to face it. The breaking point didn't come with a dramatic confrontation or a tearful confession. It arrived in the dead of night, in a whisper that was never meant for my ears. It was a Tuesday, just another ordinary day. We had gone to bed, the usual routine of brushing teeth and a quick, passionless peck on the cheek. I fell asleep quickly, exhausted from a long day. But sometime around 3 a.m., a sound pulled me from my slumber. It was Sarah mumbling in her sleep. I smiled in the darkness, thinking it was sweet. I leaned in closer, expecting to hear my name, a sweet nothing from her dreams. But the name she whispered wasn't mine. It was Alex. A single word, breathed into the quiet of our bedroom, and then a faint, contented sigh. Alex. The name echoed in the silent room, a ricocheting bullet that shattered my world into a million pieces. Who was Alex? My mind raced, connecting the dots I had so desperately ignored. The late nights, the secret phone calls, the distance that had grown between us like an impassable chasm. In that single, stolen moment, the wall of denial I had so carefully constructed came crashing down, burying me in the rubble of my own naivety. The truth I had been running from had found me in the dark, and it was every bit the monster I had feared. Lying there in the dark, next to the woman who was a stranger in my bed, a cold, hard clarity washed over me. The pain was immense, a physical ache in my chest that made it hard to breathe. But alongside the pain, something else began to stir. Resolve. I was no longer the blind, trusting husband. I was a man whose trust had been betrayed in the most profound way possible. The symphony of my life had been silenced, replaced by a deafening roar of betrayal. This wasn't just a crack in the foundation. It was a demolition. Everything had to change. I didn't know how, but I knew I couldn't go back to pretending. The next morning, the sun would rise on a completely different world, and I would have to find the strength to navigate it. The next few days were a blur of silent agony. I moved through my life like a ghost, a spectator in my own home. I'd watch Sarah as she made breakfast, her movements so familiar, yet her presence completely alien. Every smile she gave me felt like a lie, every touch a betrayal. The name Alex was a constant echo in my mind. Was he a coworker? An old friend? The questions tormented me, but I kept my silence. I needed a plan. I needed proof. Confronting her without it would just lead to more lies, more gaslighting. I had to be smart. I started paying closer attention, not as a husband, but as a detective in my own life. I decided to follow her. The thought made me sick to my stomach, like I was violating some sacred code. But what choice did I have? She had already violated everything we stood for. One Friday, she said she was going out for drinks with the girls. It was the oldest excuse in the book. I waited a few minutes after she left, then got in my car. My heart pounded against my ribs as I followed her familiar taillights, not to a trendy downtown bar, but to a quiet, dimly lit restaurant on the other side of town. I parked across the street, my hands shaking, and I watched. And then I saw him. A man, tall and confident, waited for her at the entrance. She ran to him, and he wrapped his arms around her, a gesture so intimate it stole the air from my lungs. That was Alex, and that was all the proof I needed. Seeing them together, laughing and touching, was like watching a movie of my own personal nightmare. But something inside me shifted. The deep, gut-wrenching pain began to solidify into a cold, hard resolve. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I deserved better. My children deserved better. I drove home, not in a rage, but with a strange sense of peace. The uncertainty was gone. I knew what I had to do. The next day, I contacted a lawyer. I began quietly separating our finances and documenting everything. I was no longer fighting to save my marriage. I was fighting to save myself. I was taking back control, one calculated step at a time. The fortress had fallen, but I was going to build a new life from the ruins, a life based on truth and self-respect. My journey was just beginning, but for the first time in a long time I could see a path forward, away from the shadows of deceit and into the light. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this community. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content. Your support means the world to me. We'll see you in the next one.